My fiancée informed me she was staying late at work. An hour later, her colleague mistakenly shared a group picture showing her perched on his lap. I discreetly saved the image. That evening, I sent it to HR. What followed was epic. The message from my fiancée, Sarah, arrived at 7:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Hey love, I'll be super late tonight. We're swamped trying to meet the quarterly targets. Don't wait up." I was lounging on the sofa, engrossed in a novel. I replied with a brief, "No worries, keep at it." 90 minutes later, I was browsing Instagram to pass the time before bed. That's when I spotted it. Not on her profile, naturally, but on the feed of a junior marketing associate, a guy named Ethan, notorious for oversharing. He'd posted a typical group snapshot, a fuzzy image of about 10 people crammed into a booth at a chic downtown lounge. The caption read, "Deadline smashed, team vibes." Right in the center was Sarah, chuckling, clutching a drink, and sitting firmly on the lap of her supervisor, a senior executive named Ryan. His arm was snugly around her waist, his hand resting a tad too high on her side. They looked cozy, almost too familiar, as if this wasn't their first time in such a pose. I stared at the image for a solid minute. My pulse didn't quicken, my gut didn't churn. Instead, I felt an odd, almost tranquil clarity. The kind of clarity you get when a prolonged, nagging suspicion finally solidifies into undeniable proof. The faint doubts I'd harbored for months were now validated with a timestamp and a location tag. I didn't get mad. I didn't smash my phone. I just pressed my thumb on the screen and quietly saved the photo to my gallery. Then I uploaded it to my secure cloud storage. Then I backed it up to an encrypted external drive. In my world, you always safeguard your proof. Sarah thought she was at a team celebration. She had no clue she was now the subject of a newly launched internal probe. And I was about to become the most relentless, meticulous investigator she'd ever face. Let's be crystal clear. I'm not a pushover. I'm not a doormat. I'm the senior director of corporate governance for a Fortune 500 firm. My job sounds dull, and often it is. But my entire career hinges on one unshakable principle: rules exist for a purpose. I'm the one who drafts the code of conduct. I'm the one who probes violations of it. And I'm the one who recommends dismissal for those who believe the rules don't apply to them. My life is a stronghold built on policies, protocols, and the firm belief that actions carry consequences. I met Sarah 2 years ago at a company networking event. We work for the same sprawling tech corporation, but in entirely different sectors. She's in marketing, the land of glitzy campaigns and dubious expense claims. I'm in governance, the department people mention in hushed tones. She was unpredictability, I was structure. I found her intriguing. I saw her as a personal project, a system veering far outside acceptable boundaries. I genuinely believed I could steer her toward a more disciplined, principled way of living. Our relationship wasn't a contract. In my mind, it was a reform effort. I was blind to the fact that she didn't want reform. She just wanted a backer. I wasn't a fool. For 2 years, I set firm boundaries. I never mingled our finances. The house we lived in was mine, bought long before I met her. I didn't cover her expenses. She had her own income and was accountable for her own life. My role was to provide a stable home and a partnership with someone I thought was helping her mature. I was mistaken. I wasn't helping her grow. I was merely offering a secure platform for her to run her own covert operations. The photo wasn't just a personal betrayal. It was a professional one. By sitting on her boss's lap, she wasn't just my fiancée being disloyal. She was a subordinate employee engaging in a public display of improper behavior with her direct superior, a blatant violation of at least 4 sections of the company's code of conduct, a code I had personally authored. She thought she was cheating on her partner. She had no idea she was crossing the man who held her professional fate in his hands. That night, after securing the evidence, I retreated to my home office. I created a new encrypted folder on my server, labeled Case File, S. Carter R. Hayes. Then I set up a new anonymous email account. From it, I crafted a formal ethics complaint, a masterpiece of cold, professional precision. It cited the exact policies breached: fraternization, conflict of interest, unprofessional behavior, and misuse of company resources. As I was certain this team celebration would appear on Ryan's expense report, I attached the photo as Exhibit A and sent it directly to the one person at the company who would take it most seriously: the head of human resources. The investigation was officially underway, and the primary suspects had no idea they were under scrutiny. Update 1 ***. The morning after I filed the complaint was a lesson in calculated deception. Sarah came home around 2 a.m., reeking of liquor and cheap fragrance. She crept into the bedroom, assuming I was asleep. I was awake, naturally, staring at the ceiling, mentally mapping out the next 20 steps. In the morning, she was slightly hungover, but her usual lively self. "God, last night was wild," she said, pouring coffee. "We were at the office until midnight. Ryan's such a taskmaster." I nodded, my face a mask of mild, supportive concern. "Sounds rough," I said. "Make sure he treats you to a nice lunch for all that overtime." This was the heart of my plan, absolute, unflinching normalcy. An investigation thrives when the targets don't know they're being watched. I needed her to keep acting as usual to keep slipping up. Our company's HR department is a precise, formidable machine. They don't play games. I knew my anonymous complaint, backed by clear photographic evidence, would spark an immediate, high-priority investigation. I also knew it would be handled discreetly at first. My role in governance gives me unique insight into the company's operations. I don't work directly with HR on these cases to avoid conflicts of interest, but I know their process. They'd start by quietly pulling records, emails, chat logs, expense reports, travel records, even key card access logs. They'd build a case before questioning anyone. And I knew they'd find more because for 6 months, I'd quietly noticed a pattern of behavior that was, at best, highly unprofessional. I hadn't acted on it earlier because it was personal. Now it was a governance issue. I'd seen the late-night Uber receipts on our shared account, rides from the office to her old apartment before she moved in with me, all charged to Ryan's corporate card. I'd seen the restaurant receipts from team lunches that were clearly just for two, at venues far too intimate for a boss and his subordinate. Once, when I used her laptop to print something, I glimpsed a string of messages from Ryan so wildly inappropriate they'd make a dockworker blush. I hadn't saved them then, a mistake I was about to correct. My task now was to become a second anonymous source, feeding the HR investigation without revealing my identity. That weekend, while Sarah was out at brunch with her equally insufferable friends, I enacted phase 2. I went to our home office and opened her personal laptop, which she never bothered to secure with a password. In under 10 minutes, I found what I needed. The chat logs with Ryan were still there, a goldmine of damning evidence. Flirtatious remarks, private jokes, and most incriminating, a series of messages where he promised her a promotion she wasn't qualified for in exchange for her loyalty. I took high-resolution photos of the screen with my phone, avoiding direct file saves to prevent a digital trail. The images were clear, irrefutable proof of a quid pro quo and an improper relationship. This wasn't just about a drunken night out anymore. It was about a serious abuse of authority by a senior executive. I also combed through our shared cloud photo album. Buried in a folder she assumed I never checked were more images from company events, where she and Ryan were always a little too close, a little too familiar. I saved them all. I compiled this new evidence into a second dossier and sent it from a different anonymous email to the lead HR investigator I knew was handling the case. The email was concise. "I'm a colleague of Sarah Carter. I know an investigation is underway. This may assist. I wish to remain anonymous due to fear of reprisal." The trap was now fully set with a wealth of evidence. Sarah and Ryan thought they were dealing with one blurry photo. They had no idea I was about to bury them under a mountain of proof. The first sign the investigation had intensified came the following Tuesday. Sarah came home looking pale and rattled. "The strangest thing happened today," she said, pouring a large glass of wine. "HR called me in and Ryan too, separately. They asked all these odd questions about our work dynamic, after-hours events, expense reports. It was so intense." I put on my best concerned fiancée face. "That sounds strange," I said. "What's it about?" "I don't know," she lied, her eyes avoiding mine. "Ryan thinks someone might have it out for him, trying to stir trouble. We both said we have a solid professional relationship. It's nothing." I nodded. "I'm sure it's fine," I said, lying to HR during a formal investigation. A fireable offense on its own. The pieces were aligning more perfectly than I could have hoped. She had no idea she was confessing her career's demise to me. She thought I was her safe haven. I was the one who'd launched the missile. Update 2 ***. The week after the initial HR interviews was a glorious slow-motion disaster. Sarah and Ryan had made the gravest mistake possible in a corporate investigation. They lied, and they lied in sync, locking in their stories. They were standing on a trapdoor, hand in hand, oblivious to the fact that I held the lever. The HR investigator, a no-nonsense woman named Karen, now had their official statements claiming a strictly professional relationship. Statements I knew were about to be torn apart by the evidence I'd supplied. The next step in the process would be a forensic audit of their corporate accounts, and this is where my expertise shone. I knew exactly what Karen would seek, and I decided to guide her to it. On Wednesday, I sent a third and final anonymous email, this one more technical. It directed her to specific dates and expense reports filed by Ryan, including a dinner on a date when Sarah and I were at a family event, meaning the team dinner he expensed was with someone else. It also flagged a hotel bill from a business trip to a city with no company clients, a trip I knew Sarah had attended for a friend's bachelorette party. This was the final blow. It gave the investigation a clear path to their deceit. It wasn't just about flirty messages or one inappropriate photo anymore. It was a pattern of using company funds to fuel their affair. Sarah's anxiety that week was a sight to behold. She was jittery, snappy, and glued to her phone, texting Ryan constantly. She was trying to keep their story aligned, trying to patch a ship already sinking fast. She even had the nerve to vent to me about the stress. "This HR thing is a nightmare," she said one evening. "It's so distracting, I can't focus on work. Ryan's acting so weird about it." "Just tell the truth," I said, locking eyes with her. "If you're honest, you've got nothing to worry about. That's what I always say in my governance training." The flicker of panic in her eyes was exquisite. The hammer dropped on Friday. It was a bright, sunny afternoon. I was in my office reviewing a new anti-fraud policy draft when a company-wide email landed. It was a dry corporate notice from the head of marketing. "We regret to inform you that Ryan Hayes is no longer with the company, effective immediately. We wish him well in his future endeavors." That phrase, "wish him well," is corporate code for fired for cause, and we can't legally spill the details. I knew Sarah's fate would be handled separately. I went home, poured myself a drink, and waited. She walked in 2 hours later, her face pale, eyes bloodshot, clutching a small cardboard box with her desk's contents. She didn't speak. She just sank onto the couch, staring blankly ahead. "Tough day?" I asked, my voice laced with feigned sympathy. She looked at me. "They fired Ryan," she whispered. "They called me in after. They showed me everything, the photo, the chats, the expense reports, the hotel bill." She started crying soft, broken tears. "They know we lied. They suspended me without pay, pending final termination." I let the silence linger, letting her stew in the ruins of her life. Then I walked to the coffee table and placed a single printed photo on it, face up, the image of her on Ryan's lap. Her head jerked up. She stared at the photo, then at me. In her eyes, I saw the final, horrifying realization click into place. "It was you," she whispered. "The anonymous complaint, it was you." I said nothing. I just took a slow sip of my drink. Final update asterisk. The confrontation in the living room wasn't the loud, dramatic showdown she likely anticipated. My revenge was never about volume, it was about precision. "Why?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Why would you do this to me?" I sat across from her, my voice calm and measured, as if I were leading a disciplinary meeting. "Let me break it down for you in terms you might grasp," I began. "You and I work for a company with a code of conduct, a set of rules we all agree to follow. It's the bedrock of our professional lives, ensuring a fair, ethical workplace." I leaned forward. "You didn't just betray me, Sarah. You violated company policy. You engaged in an inappropriate relationship with your direct supervisor. You participated in a scheme to misuse company funds through falsified expense reports. And when HR questioned you in a formal investigation, you lied, committing perjury." She stared, stunned. She'd never considered her personal betrayal had a professional cost. "I'm the senior director of corporate governance," I continued. "My entire career, my entire identity, is built on upholding those rules, the ones you so carelessly broke. You mocked my job as boring, my principles as rigid, but that rigidity, that commitment to the rules, is what keeps our company intact. It's what I stand for. So when I saw that photo," I said, tapping the image on the table, "I didn't just see my fiancée on another man's lap. I saw a threat to the integrity of the system I'm sworn to protect, a governance failure. I did my job, I reported it, as any employee is required to do." "You ruined my life over a rule book," she sobbed. "No," I said, standing. "You ruined your life because you lack integrity. You thought you could live without rules, without consequences. You thought you could have my stability at home while breaking the rules at work. You didn't realize that for someone like me, personal and professional integrity are one and the same. You violated both. The consequences are just the system correcting itself. I walked to the front door and opened it. Your employment is done. Our engagement is done. Your time in my house is done. I've packed a suitcase with a few days' worth of clothes. It's by the door. The rest of your things will be professionally packed and sent to your parents' house by week's end. Where am I supposed to go? She cried. That's a logistical issue outside my department's scope, I said. Goodbye, Sarah. I left her on the couch and took a long walk. When I returned 2 hours later, she and her suitcase were gone. It's been a month. The company finalized her termination. Ryan, I've heard, is unemployable in our industry. The story of his firing for an affair with a subordinate and misusing company funds has spread like wildfire. Sarah had to move back with her parents. Her tech career is over, her finances are in shambles, and her reputation is destroyed. My revenge wasn't a fit of rage. It was a governance audit. I took her flagrant disregard for our relationship's rules and measured it against the cold, unyielding standards of the world she thought she could outsmart. She was audited, and she failed spectacularly. She thought she was playing a game. She never realized I was the one who wrote the rulebook.